Welcome to a guide on how to find what you want. That can be one of the hardest things at a house hunt is to figure out what do I actually want to buy. And I'm here with Kristen, who's an expert at helping people figure out what they want. So Kristen, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So Kristen, before we start, I've got to ask you this question. If you were in a neighborhood, any neighborhood in Atlanta or anywhere in the world, what would be your spirit neighborhood? What neighborhood would you be?
So I feel like all of my Atlantans are going to get mad at me for saying this, but I truly love New Orleans.
Oh my
Um,
goodness, the Saints. Kristen, how could you?
I know. I love that city so much. Not so much the Saints, but I love New Orleans.
All right. Well, you Falcons fans, bear with us for the rest of this video. We're still going to help you figure out what you want. Don't hold it against Kristen. So, Kristen, I mean, this is a common thing when we first meet with folks and they're trying to figure out, hey, where should I buy? How do you help people navigate through that question? It's such a hard question.
Well, I think you have to ask questions in order to help people kind of narrow down and hone in on what they want and where they want to be. And there are a lot of questions I ask, such as are schools important? Obviously, price point is always a factor
Yep.
in getting what you want. Are you a suburban person? Do you like the city more? Are you looking for walkability? There are just a variety of questions that I ask, potential buyers and my clients to kind of help them narrow down. Because a lot of times people don't know what they want. And these questions kind of help them figure out.
Yeah. I mean, Atlanta is a huge city. I mean, you just think about the variety of options that people have. That can be
Right.
super challenging. I love that asking questions. So you ask people those questions, you hear some of their answers, and then based on that, then what's kind of like a next step?
So I also encourage people to ride neighborhoods. I remember even before I got involved into real estate, that was one of my favorite pastimes. And ultimately that helped us figure out where we wanted to be and what we wanted. So I encourage people to ride around, tour neighborhoods at different times of day, different times of the week. And that kind of gives you a good idea of what the neighborhood is like or what the area is like.
I absolutely love that. I mean, there is definitely a feeling because buying a house is partially an emotional purchase. And I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, when you're in the neighborhood and you actually see what it looks like, you see what's going on. You could go to restaurants, I guess. I mean, you could go out
Yes.
to eat, you could go
Yes.
grab coffee, go to the playground or
Just
the
hang
park
out.
if up. Yeah. I mean, I think that's really, really great. So once people start to do that and they start to get a feel, I mean, what about when people start to narrow it down a little bit and they're
Mhm.
down to like, hey, I know we want to be in town versus the suburbs, or we know we want to be in East Cobb, and you started to narrow it down, but you need to get a little bit more specific. Is it okay to have a wider range, or do people really need to narrow down to this is exactly where I want to be?
No, so I think having what we call an exploratory day helps them narrow it down even further. I have people say, well, I don't know whether I want to be in the burbs or the city. I feel like I want land, but then I like the walkability of the city. Well, you can get both in many times. So I recommend having an exploratory day, picking out a few properties in a few of their top areas, and that also helps.
And so, what's that exploratory day look like? That's you and the clients going out to see a handful of places?
Yeah, yeah. So it's a casual tour, if you will, of a couple of homes. No pressure. We know that we're not looking to make offers on these homes that day, but
Hmm.
just more of a casual browsing, if you will, of homes.
Yeah. So the goal of the day is to see what your money gets you in these
Yes,
locations, to see what it feels like, not necessarily to buy the house. Although, I mean,
I
from
did
doing
it.
some of these, I was going to say some people end up buying the house, right? I mean, some people the exploratory day you end up finding the house.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think a lot of
Not
people
at
would be
all.
surprised to know that more people than you would think buy one of the first few houses they see. I mean, haven't you found that to be true?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I always tell people, don't feel bad
Yeah.
if that when you know. And sometimes when that happens, I always offer, let's go out and see a couple more. Although I know your
Mhm.
heart is set on this one, let's go out and see a couple of more to more solidify that decision.
Yeah. And so I know that schools are a really big deal for a lot of people when they're figuring out this location. How can people research what school is going to be best for their family?
I encourage people to join neighborhood groups on Facebook, and speak to people who actually have children in those schools. And
Love
that's from
that.
personal experience. It's easy to join the neighborhood schools. You answer a few questions and you join the Facebook group. And most times they are more than happy to talk you through that. Visit the actual schools themselves. There are a couple of online resources, but I would caution people to fact check what you see on websites, and really get out and
Yeah.
talk to people in the neighborhoods.
I really appreciate you saying that. And that wraps up, I mean, that's perfectly your story, right? I mean,
Yes,
y'all bought first in the suburbs and then moved in
yes,
to the city. And so it's completely different school system. And you had to do
absolutely.
your research to make sure that was going to be the right move, right?
Absolutely. We thought that we had our mindset on one school, and after talking to people in the neighborhood, talking to the principal, we actually found that another school was the better choice for our daughter. So I can definitely speak from personal experience on that.
So do your personal research. Don't just rely on online. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Kristen, this is super helpful. If you had one, I don't know, call it a secret, one piece of insider advice to help people figure out where they want to be on their house hunt, what would you say for that?
I think I kind of gave it away, because people don't think to hang in the neighborhoods where they're thinking about buying. They get so focused on the home and seeing in the home. And so it's something simple, but I really think taking the time and hanging out, getting out in your car and walking around the neighborhoods, just park your car and walk a couple of blocks, and just get a good feel of the neighborhood would be my advice.
I love that. Walk around the neighborhood, be there. I think I may coin a new
Yeah.
phrase based on that. How about neighborhood hunting? People are always
Yes,
house hunting, but you're going to see the house. Maybe we should do
exactly.
some neighborhood hunting.
I agree.
Awesome. All right, Kristen, thanks for your expertise and insight on this. We really appreciate you. Everyone, we'll see you next time.